Welcome to episode 129 of Drew Sports Crew here on this Sunday morning. Myself, Drew Skyber here, bringing you the news in the Wisconsin sports world. And wow, how about the Milwaukee Brewers? That's definitely where we're starting here. And then also the Green Bay Packers. We'll talk about the preseason finale against the Seattle Seahawks at Lambeau. I saw a lot of you guys were there yesterday. Had some cool stuff. So just let me know how you thought it went. Some electric atmosphere. And yeah, I was at the Brewer game last night and Friday night, so it was a busy week in Brewer base. So a lot of giveaways. Had to make my way down. Actually went to the game with Zach and Jared. So Zach Rouse, Jared Valeski, who joined me on Journey to a Million. So that was pretty cool. And we had a great time there. And right, Rowdy Teller's bobblehead. It has dogs on it. It's a pretty cool bobblehead. It's his dogs, I believe. It's a story, but they win 2 against the Padres. Have not seen Josh Hader yet this series, which has been nice. And then also, it's getting to that time of year. It's the fantasy baseball. It's going to be the podcast league championship next week. So right now, Jared's actually competing for a spot against another listener, Mitch. And those two are competing. And it looks like I won. I'm up over 300 points here with a day to go. So it looks like I'll be in the championship game for the second straight year. But the opponent is to be determined. Also, we're drafting the listener league tonight. So thank you to all who joined. We are drafting tonight, as you all know, on Sunday. I'm excited to share around some teams and stuff. That's gonna be fun. Um, Probably have like the winner on. We did that 2 years ago. Had the winner on. I'm looking forward to bringing it on, just hearing how they drafted, all that good stuff. Be a lot of fun. So from there, that's what's going on. You'll notice again the background will be changing soon. I am moving in a couple days here, so actually for Journey Million, you'll probably see a different background. Don't worry, still same old me. And right, we're getting closer to football, which is gonna be great. Otherwise, after Sports Crew, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, right, you'll see some clips, some fun clips of these episodes. So I'll take a key thing that's happened in the episode and I'll post about it so we can talk about it that way. Feel like that's gonna be a good thing to do. Like share if you were not able to catch the whole episode. Don't worry, I got you. These are 25 minutes, so I'll take probably the key minute, that I feel is important of the episode, and I want to share it all to you, make it easier for you, the listener. So just letting you know. So expect those more in your feed moving forward. Otherwise, let's get into the show here. So to start, right, we're going to the Milwaukee Brewers, and wow, I mean it's been a week for a positive side. So, right, I talked about last week. We hyped up that big sweep in Texas. I talked about this week. I mean, I had the Brewers with a 2-game sweep against Minnesota. I had them keeping it going. They sure did. So that was good to see. I did have a loss in the San Diego series, so no, I'm totally not wanting a loss today. I want the Brewers to win, but I predicted a loss in here just based on the matchups and stuff. I might even been today as the loss, just based on, again, the rotation, because, again, we got Woodruff. We had Burns on Wednesday, which we need to talk about. Burns has not really pitched as well lately. I was actually having a conversation. It was actually with Jared about, looking at this team, who's been, the best pitcher in the second half, and, it's not Corbin Burns. That was just the crazy thing. It was, it's not Corbin Burns. His ERA now is over 3. Well, it's been over 3, but it's 3.65, and we were talking, we were like, okay, Freddie Peralta and Corbin Burns, or not Corbin Burns, but rather Brandon Woodruff. Now with Woodruff coming back, having your top 2 starters, those are the guys you'd probably actually want right now. If it was a winner go home playoff game, those are the guys you'd want. And then also, the bullpen, right? Williams has been good, but Admiral Uribe, I mean, he came in Friday, phenomenal. Trevor McGill looked good on Friday. And both those guys are pieces in the bullpen that, I'm talking about Uribe now. His ERA is under 1. The fact that Devin Williams, he's the best reliever of the bullpen. There's no denying that. But like, if we take like the second half of the season, it's like technically the numbers for Uribe are better. So I just think that's so interesting. Like you had Devin Williams, but then you just got a guy right now who's been performing better than Devin Williams. So it's crazy how that's looked. I really hope McGill turns it around. Like his FIP right now, by the way. So fielding independent pitching, he has a huge difference. His his FIP is 2.09 and his ERA is 3.91, so that gives him a 1.82 difference between his ERA and FIP. So that discrepancy there tells me he's due for some, some progression rather than like the regression or however you want to call it. I just find that so interesting. And Andrew Chafin, it's been rough. Came in Friday. I was actually sitting over by I was standing near the outfield when Gary Sanchez hit that home run. It was, if you didn't see that home run, you should go back and look. It was destroyed. I mean, it's one of the farther balls I've seen at a game, and it's crazy to see. So that was just something that stood out to me. But I want to talk more about the players before we get into the schedule stuff because I think this is important. Joey Weimer. So something you'll see is righty or lefty, and I mean he looks more as down the stretch he's going to be a defensive sub. With how Taylor's been performing offensively, Taylor's gonna get this. He's gonna get the at bats, and that's totally reasonable. Or if Mark Canna might be in, so they did this actually on Friday. Canna hit, but then it was like in the eighth. It was his last at bat of the game. It looked like Weimer goes in defensive sub and center right away, and it shows how valuable his defense is. But unfortunately, it shows how much of a liability he's been at the plate. So that's just the nature of baseball, and I like how Council's been navigating through that with him. Bryce Harang has picked it up. I haven't even talked about Rowdy Tellez Day on Friday. Well, it was Bala Day yesterday, but then Rowdy Tellez Day on Friday. Like that's some good stuff. And Tellez, 4 RBIs, a 3-run home run, just everything you want to see. So I love that. But it's been good for this offense so far. Monasterio had a couple hits yesterday. Yeah, like the reason this team's winning games, this is my key takeaway. The last 7 days they've been hitting the ball. They've been putting the ball in play. They've been scoring runs, right? Just listen to these numbers. So they scored 9 on Friday, 9 last Friday, or let me start over. So in the 7-game win streak, here are the runs they've scored: 9, 6, 6, 7, 8, 7, 5. Notice how the lowest they've scored is 5 runs per game. 5 runs in a game. When they have the pitching staff they have, you're going to win. If the magic number is 5, if you can get to 5 runs, you're going to win 70, 80% of your games, which is good to see. And that's definitely what we want. I was also at the game last Tuesday against Minnesota. And that was a good win too against the Twins. No complaints by me. But we do have, again, this big series coming up here in Chicago. So week 22 is a success, regardless of how Sunday goes. I'm not going to really preview the game Sunday because that'd be a disservice as you're probably listening after the game. So however that game went, just know bullpen has been looking good. Of course, the rotation has, but it's been the offensive story. They're the reason right now, a 7-game win streak. Not discrediting the pitching. They've been doing what they've been doing the whole year. But the offense is why we are where we are. So talk about week 23 now. Week 23 is huge for the Milwaukee Brewers. This is a huge week. The big reason why is against the Chicago Cubs is the story. And they need to beat the Cubs. Right, we know the standings, which I'm going to just talk about here. And it is going to be very important as the NL Central. Again, the Brewers are up 4 games right now, the Chicago Cubs. 5 games over the Reds. Really 6 games there as they have the season series against Cincinnati. And then, right, so Right, the Brewers after the 7-game win streak, which by the way, they're the team of the week. You'll see a post up today or Sunday. 72-57. Now they are 37-27 at home, 35-30 on the road, and their playoff odds are 96.4%. We love it. So they have the highest. They're higher than the Phillies, which makes sense. They have the division. So yeah, looks as it should. So no issues on that. But anyways, let's go here to the game. So this series again against the Chicago Cubs. I'm going to go back now. So again, they're up 4 games right now before Sunday's action. We do not have starters announced tomorrow. I did want to highlight that because what you're looking at if you are the Milwaukee Brewers, this is how this week needs to go against Chicago. So the Brewers against the Cubs in the season series are actually up 4-3. They have this 3-game series here. Definitely for the Brewers, you're looking at 2 out of 3. You want to expand that to 2 games over 500 against this team, as they only have 1 to 2 matchups left here this year. And for the Brewers, we know the guys who pitch. We know Burns pitched. It looks like Burns might be going Tuesday or Wednesday, just based on me mapping out the rotation. And then it looks like we might have Hauser tomorrow. So I'm just monitoring the situation on who is going to be pitching, because I'm looking at who the Cubs have been pitching, and right now Javier Assad is pitching today, which is good for the Brewers as he's gotten a lot of strikeouts. My apologies, Hauser's actually pitching today, as Peralta pitched yesterday. Wasn't sure if they were moving with that, so we might have Miley tomorrow, and then we might be going right back to Corbin Burns on Tuesday. Brandon Woodruff might get Wednesday, and that would be a prime spot for Milwaukee. Sounds like Marcus Stroman won't be back yet for the Cubs, and we might see Justin Steele is what I'm looking at. So we're gonna see Steele, who's been a guy who has done very good things against the Brewers. If you're a Cubs fan, and should be a good series in Wrigley. I was hoping they had probables out, but I can always map it out. Miley tomorrow is my guess. Burns Tuesday, Woodruff Wednesday. Again, this series, Bally Sports, it's actually 7:05 Central on Monday, 7:05 on Tuesday, 1:20 on Wednesday. So that is the series against at Wrigley Field in Chicago. They're actually on TBS, but it's only out of market. If you're out of market, 7:05. You can see that. Then the rest of the week, talking through it, the Phillies come to town. Brewers come right back to Milwaukee, 7:10, 6:15, 12:05. So for this series, it'll be good. It's actually college night on Friday. I wish I could go, but I cannot. Brewers fleece vest then on Saturday, and then of course Sunday fun day next Sunday. And in this series, for at least the Brewers, they're gonna probably be facing Zach Wheeler. My guess is they'll have him on Friday, so that's not good. But we understand that that's just how it is sometimes. But otherwise, we're gonna get probably Freddie Peralta on Friday. That's good. And then we go right back. We'll have Hauser then and Miley Saturday, Sunday. So that might be tough. I don't know how Hauser's going to pitch against this Phillies team that destroys right-handed pitching and hits a lot of home runs against righties. So that's a concern I have down the road. So when I carve up my record prediction, you'll kind of see where I'm going with it. I'm hoping for a good week, but again, I'll have that up for you all tomorrow morning. We'll be able to check that out. But again, six games on the docket, 3 games on the road, 3 games at home. The Cubs are the road team. Phillies are the home team. That's where the Brewers are, right? The Brewers will be road team against Chicago. They'll be the home team against Philly. But there is your Brewers updates here for week 22 to week 23. We love the start so far. And, we're almost getting to that time. We're up 4 games. Have a good series against Chicago this week. You can get that up to 5 or 6 games. If you win the series, you just add a game to it. The Brewers control their own destiny, and this is exactly where you want to be if you are a Milwaukee Brewer fan or just the Brewers. Phenomenal stuff. So we love what we're seeing, and makes it really easy to talk about today. let's go over to the Green Bay Packers as they played yesterday. And that's actually the thumbnail. I was like, Brewers won 7 in a row. They're going to get their own Team of the Week post today. So I'm like, we got to show some guys some love on Green Bay. And the one guy who I think really deserves it, as you see, is Anders Carlson. Right, in this one, Packers win 19-15. So that was how this game went, and it started out Brewers really. Packers got a field goal in the first quarter. They finished up 3-0. It was a Anders Carlson 43-yard field goal, and then we saw Jordan Love to Watson. Watson had this drive in the second quarter. It was actually his last drive. So for like the first drive, I was like, okay, Love looks like he needs to get it going, and it was the whole same theme this whole preseason. Love just starts out not like bad, but looks a little shaky. Like doesn't look like the Jordan Love we've seen. And then that second drive, he comes out and he's just slinging it everywhere. And the big thing for me was the targets. Like he was looking Luke Musgrave's way. Musgrave finished with 3 targets, or actually 2 targets rather. He was 2 for 2 in those. And then he was looking Jaden Reed's way. Reed had 3 targets, and then Watson also had 3 targets. And it was nice to see Watson in the end zone. We haven't seen that Watson. We haven't seen him go Watson's way really at all this preseason. We've seen it in like the family fun night settings, but not like in the game. And that was good. Like he's looking Reed and Dobbs' way usually when it came down to the red zone. And this was just a great drive though for Green Bay. It was 15 plays, 80 yards. They took 5 minutes off the clock. Then Anders Carlson had his extra point blocked. Nothing he could do on that. That was not his fault. They originally gave him a miss, and I looked at that. I'm like, really? And they changed it, so all good on that. But then for Seattle, so Seattle had Drew Lock. So he's a former Broncos first-round pick, I believe. I don't know about the first-round thing, but he was a former Bronco. Before the Wilson trade, he's out there. He had 25 attempts, 16 of 25 was locked today. Look, he didn't look bad. He's going to be the backup for Seattle, though. Geno has just played at that level where that's just how it is. Otherwise, the defense, they did enough today. None that they did bad. I mean, they didn't really force turnovers. Other than they had that interception, but no sacks. But again, they still, like, without sacks, this defense. They look great. That's how I'd put it. They're a team. They'll rally to the ball. That's what you like to see. It's hard to base it off of as like personnel wise. Not all stars are playing. Like, hardly starters are playing, but you can just see there's things that just you can see on tape that just like you can't quantify in the stat sheet. Right? Is how the players on the Packers have rallied to the ball year over year. I feel like that's been something just even in the preseason, regardless of personnel, regardless of Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, those guys not playing with Seattle, how this Green Bay Packer defense still looked. And I think another huge thing that's not talked about as a lot is with Joe Barry. Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator, we're not going to see him actually down on the field this year. Joe Barry now is going to be up in the booth watching the game. So he's going to be up in the press box watching the defense and coaching from up there rather than on the field. And that's going to be something I think is going to be pretty good to see. I'm wondering how that affects calls this year. Again, Joe Barry trying something new, and just intrigued to see if we see any new tendencies week 1 against Chicago or anything that'll stand out there as somewhere for Barry in new territory. And so far it seems he's loved it. So I imagine he'll be sticking up there for 2023 and so on. So a cool thing there. But otherwise, going back through the game, Jacob Bobo gets a touchdown here for the Seahawks. And I just found it interesting for Bobo. I believe he went undrafted, but out of UCLA again. But his 40 time, I want to highlight that. Nothing against him. His 40 time was something. It was a 4.9940, which for a receiver, unfortunately, is too slow. He's a big receiver. He has the moves, but nothing with that. It's just a long touchdown play. Cool for Bobo. And then they had a 2-point conversion in the fourth, and that was and in that one, then they had the touchdown. And that was with Seattle. It was with Sir Roderick Thompson. He had that one. But otherwise, I wanted to go back here because that was in the fourth because there's no scoring in the third. But we have to talk about it. Anders Carlson, 57-yard field goal to end the half. 57 yards. That Lambeau win, right? If you've been in Lambeau before, it can get rowdy in there with the wind, and just like with the atmosphere. It's insane. And the fact that he nailed that 57-yarder, that's just a huge boost for Carlson. That's exactly what we wanted, and he's going to be fine. They talked about Matt LaFleur especially. Talked about, kickers going through rough stretches, and, you just stick with the guy. Like, no need to bring a guy in. We saw this with Crosby multiple times. He had some weird stretches throughout his career. Like, he just would miss, like, consecutive ones, but they never brought a guy in. He was totally fine, and it's just been interesting to see what Carlson has done. Daniel Carlson, then, his brother, nailed, I believe, a 62-yarder for Vegas last night. So two brothers nailing, two field goals. So they had 119 yards worth of field goals on Saturday, August 26th. I'm going to go out and just say it's probably a record between brothers on a field, hitting both two field goals on the same day for that distance. I bet that's the farthest two brothers have combined to kick a field goal on one day. So that was cool. But other than that, right, we talked about that touchdown for the Seahawks, and then Packers had a touchdown, just a run up the middle for a yard. Another good play. Like, these are long drives, 75 yards, 442. So we've seen them operate between that 440 to around 5-minute mark on their drives, which some good stuff there. Like, long drives. It's not like just these big plays, which has been good to just see this progression throughout the preseason. And that's what the preseason's all about. I think a big thing we've seen is, like, look at Sean Clifford from game one to this game even. I don't know. You got to be happy with what you saw if you are a Packer fan, which Clifford officially again named the backup right behind Jordan Love. So that's cool to see. And glad we got Alex Magoo out there, USFL MVP. I think the Packers, so again, roster deadline is Tuesday. There's going to have to be a lot of cuts. And what's going to happen, I think Magoo's going to stay on this team. I think they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks. I think that's going to be the plan. I'm wondering about some of these other running backs. I think the big one is Lou Nichols, the guy they actually drafted in the 7th round this year. I don't think he's going to make the team. He did not play yesterday. They want to see more out of, again, Emmanuel Wilson, and I think he's going to make the team. That's gonna be my guess. I think Patrick Taylor probably will as well. Both those guys. Malik Heath, haven't even talked about him. He had himself a day yesterday. And so far for the preseason, he's had 12 receptions, 146 yards. He had 7 targets. He's going to make the squad no matter what. It's going to be him, Samori Toure, and then, of course, the other 3 receivers, Reed, Watson, and Dobbs. I'd imagine Bo Melton will also make the team as well. So I think 6 receivers is going to probably be how they do it moving forward. And then, of course, Kraft and Musgrave will be on this team as well. So that's like your offensive guys there. So the 3 quarterbacks, and then, of course, Jones, Dillon, maybe Taylor Wilson. I don't know if they're going to carry 4 running backs, but that's 7 spots there, and then 6 receivers, 13, and then, yeah, the tight ends. So that's how I imagine this team's going to go. And then also I think DeGuara is going to obviously be on this team, so add him in there in the mix as well. But that's how this Packer team's looking. A good way to end the preseason. And now they have 2 weeks to prepare against the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field. It is almost there, everybody. And we have, of course, a fantasy football draft tonight. So we'll see. Maybe Luke Musgrave's going to be on the squad. Maybe Jordan Love. It's 1 quarterback, so probably not. Jordan Love, but just might pick up a Packer or two. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see if the value's there. But otherwise, it is almost there. Coming season time. And we'll be focusing on the Brewers this next week. Right? As there's not going to be too much. Hard to preview the Packer Bear game right now as we're 2 weeks out, but maybe as we'll get closer, we'll talk about that. As it is almost that time. So After Sports Crew again, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. But otherwise, that's all I have, everybody. Thank you here all for listening. Enjoy your Sunday. So thank you all for listening to yet another episode of Drew Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.